The day was warm, the sun shining brightly on the tarmac of a bustling military base. People were gathered, waiting for the arrival of a prominent guest. President Donald Trump was scheduled to visit and meet with families of service members, veterans, and military personnel. For many, this was a chance to voice their gratitude, share their stories, and feel seen by someone in power. Among those gathered was a young boy named Ethan, his mother Maria standing beside him. Ethan was barely 9 years old, but his eyes carried the weight of someone much older. Ethan was the son of a Marine who had fallen in the line of duty. His father, Sergeant Michael Harris, had been a dedicated soldier who gave his life during a rescue mission overseas. Since losing him, Ethan had struggled to understand why his dad had to leave and never come back. Maria often told him stories of his father's bravery, hoping to keep his memory alive. But the loss was still fresh and overwhelming for the little boy. As the plane carrying the president landed, Ethan clutched a neatly folded letter in his small hands. It was a letter he had spent days writing, pouring his heart into every word. In it, he spoke about his dad, how much he missed him, and how proud he was of the sacrifice his father had made for the country. Maria hadn't read it, respecting Ethan's privacy, but she could tell how much it meant to him. The plane door opened, and President Trump stepped out, waving to the crowd. He walked down the stairs with his signature confidence, stopping to greet the officers lined up to welcome him. Slowly, he made his way toward the families waiting in a cordoned-off area. Security was tight, and the atmosphere buzzed with anticipation. When President Trump reached Ethan and Maria, he immediately noticed the boy. Ethan stood out not just because of his youthful innocence, but also because of the intensity in his eyes. Trump bent down slightly to meet Ethan at eye level and extended his hand. "Hi there, young man. What's your name?" "Ethan, sir," the boy said, his voice steady but soft. Trump smiled. "It's nice to meet you, Ethan. And who is this lovely lady?" he asked, gesturing to Maria. "She's my mom," Ethan replied, glancing up at her briefly before turning his attention back to Trump. Maria nodded politely. "Mr. President, it's an honor to meet you." Trump shook her hand warmly. "The honor is mine. Thank you for being here today." Ethan hesitated for a moment before holding out his letter. "I wrote this for you," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. Surprised but touched, Trump took the letter and unfolded it. He began reading it right there, his expression softening as he absorbed the words. The crowd grew quieter, sensing something meaningful was unfolding. Ethan's letter spoke about his father's bravery, how much he missed playing catch with him, and how proud he was to be the son of a hero. At the end of the letter, Ethan wrote, "Please remember my dad and all the other dads and moms who are not here anymore because they were protecting us." When Trump finished reading, he looked back at Ethan, his eyes glistening. He placed a hand on the boy's shoulder and said, "Ethan, your father was a great man, a true hero, and I promise you his sacrifice will never be forgotten." Ethan nodded, his eyes watering. "Thank you, sir." Trump then turned to Maria. "You've raised an incredible young man. Sergeant Harris's legacy lives on through him." Maria's voice cracked as she replied, "Thank you, Mr. President. That means a lot." But Trump wasn't done. He stood up and gestured to his security team, who brought over a small box. Inside was a presidential challenge coin, a symbol of honor given to individuals for extraordinary actions. Trump handed it to Ethan. "This is for you," he said. "A token of gratitude for your father's service and for the strength you and your mom show every day." Ethan held the coin carefully, his small fingers tracing the intricate design. He whispered, "Thank you." The moment didn't end there. Trump asked Ethan and Maria if they would join him for a tour of the base and a private meeting with some of the other families. The three of them walked together, Ethan clutching his letter and the coin, while Maria wiped tears from her eyes. During the tour, Trump spoke to the gathered service members and their families, sharing Ethan's story and honoring Sergeant Harris's memory. He highlighted the sacrifices made by military families, calling them the backbone of the nation. "The strength of this young boy reminds us why we do what we do," he said, his voice carrying both conviction and emotion. By the end of the visit, Ethan and Maria felt a renewed sense of hope and pride. Ethan, once shy and reserved, stood a little taller, inspired by the recognition of his father's legacy. Maria, too, felt seen in a way she hadn't expected, her husband's sacrifice acknowledged on a national stage. The story of Ethan's encounter with the president quickly spread, touching hearts across the country. People from all walks of life were moved by the boy's courage and the president's heartfelt response. As the president's motorcade prepared to leave, Ethan stood by the edge of the tarmac, waving his hand high in the air. Trump rolled down the window and waved back, giving Ethan one last smile. Back home that evening, Maria found Ethan sitting at the kitchen table, the challenge coin in one hand and a pen in the other. "What are you doing, sweetheart?" she asked. "I'm writing another letter," Ethan said with a small smile. "This time it's for the soldiers who are still out there. I want to thank them too." Maria's eyes filled with tears as she hugged her son tightly. She knew that despite their loss, the spirit of Michael Harris lived on in Ethan's big heart and unwavering courage. What would you have done in Ethan's shoes? Do you think the president's response was meaningful? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more inspiring stories of resilience, courage, and unexpected acts of kindness. Stay tuned for our next video, one that will touch your heart and remind you of the power of humanity.